communication skills that help partners connect in a really nice way. And one of the communication skills is I statements. That means, and you can say, you look wonderful, or you can be talking more from the heart and say, I love how you look in that blue shirt, and it matches the color of your eyes so wonderfully. Okay, so that you're saying something really from your heart. You're being vulnerable, saying, I like this, and I value your wonderful character, that you were so helpful to my aunt when she wasn't feeling well and you visited her. No, it's things that are very specific and very straightforward, not judgments, but feeling statements.
Does it have to be creative? Do you have to be different each week, or does it get...
Yeah, right.
Well, yes, you do, because you are both different people each week, each day. You're doing different things.
Okay.
And you're showing different wonderful character traits and expressing appreciation where each person, you can't imagine till you hear it, how good it feels to have your partner. You don't interrupt, you just listen, and it's like you get a bath of positive, heartfelt, appreciative comments from your partner. And I think we all have our insecurities and think, oh, does he really like me? Or, or does he still love me? You feel that love again. And you connect with it every week.
People like to multitask. Can you have this meeting while you're having sex?
Well, I say there's no one size fits all. However, I think that it's better to have the meeting at a time when it feels like a business meeting and you're not going to worry about interrupting the flow of anything.
All right. Well, since Robin crossed that line, can the appreciation... Can the man say to the woman, last night you were awesome? Can you do that? Is that part
Why not?
Okay.
But you know what? If you want to make it better, it's like the last night I loved the way you, and then you fill in the blank.
I will. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. So appreciation is not just for during your marriage meeting, and people do find, I certainly found in my own experience, that expressing it every week ripples to during the week, and you find yourself noticing things that your spouse did that you liked every day, and you will naturally comment more often. Yeah, that makes sense. So the second one is to coordinate chores. So how do I do that? I mean, normally in a marriage, now I was married, how long was I married? 7 years? Mine didn't last that long.
8 years.
8 years? Okay. So mine didn't last that long. But
Robin's counting.
Yeah, Robin counting. Well, mine's been done since, I think my marriage ended in 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave up on the idea. I said, never mind, I'm not going to do that again. But I remember the chores were pretty much set in stone. Yeah, I was going to do this, and she was going to do that, and that was the end of that. And maybe that's why I'm divorced.
Well, if the chores were set in stone, then those are not chores that you talk about in the marriage meeting. For example, I cook and my husband washes dishes generally. However, if I want to change that arrangement, that could be talked about either during chores, or if it's a more sensitive issue, then it could be brought up during the last topic, problems and challenges.
Okay, that makes... Okay.
But if suddenly the roof is leaking, do you know whose job it is to call the roofer?
Mine. It's my job.
No. or if, okay, you do know. Okay. So maybe, I don't know. To us, if you have a collaborative relationship, then if both people are happy with the chores set in stone, then you don't have very much to talk about.
So do you put things in writing so that, I mean, in the business world, you put things in writing so that somebody doesn't say, you said this, right? It's almost like a prenup. You feel funny, like not trusting the other person in a marriage.
Well, I'm not sure which issue you're talking about, what you write things down for, but I do encourage people to bring their appointment book. So if somebody says, I will call the plumber tomorrow,
okay.
Then they note it in their appointment book, and it's much more likely to happen that way.
Yes.
I was just going to reintroduce you because listeners come and go. So Marcia Naomi Berger is our guest, and she's written a book for everybody who's married. If you just got engaged, this would be a great tool so that your marriage will last like Robin's has and not like mine has. 30 minutes a week to the relationship you've always wanted. And Marcia Berger asks us to call her Naomi as her middle name.
Yes.
I'll answer to either.
Naomi. Plan for good times. That sounds like the fun part of this 30 minutes.
Well, it's fun, and all of it is really fun for me because so much it's like all the mental clutter gets cleared.
Can I get a personal question answered out of you?
You can ask it.
The last meeting you had with your husband, what good fun thing did you plan with him? What good?
Let's see, what did we find? Oh, we planned that we're going to go out Saturday night, and we did not specify what movie or what we're going to do, either a movie or a play. Usually when we say we're not sure what we're going to do, it's one of those things.
Just go out.
Yeah, we're good. Oh, yeah, it's always the plan for fun. The date is get out of the house.
That is a good idea.
More important, very important to get out of the house, more for women probably than men, because we just seem to be constituted or built in a way where if there's a house, we're in the houses, this has to be done, that has to be done, and it's hard to really free up your mind to just have a good time.
Okay.
Is this book good for a person that's in an abusive relationship? Because women can be just as abusive to men as men are to women.
That's a good point, Robin. And if there's serious abuse, this book is more of a, like, how can you say it, like a wake-up call. If people are in a situation where they cannot communicate respectfully and they're not motivated to communicate respectfully enough to, or they don't have the ability to follow the guidelines for marriage meetings, which do call for respectful, kind, positive communication, and the book tells just how to do that, then that would be more of a situation that calls for professional help, which I do recommend in the book. The marriage meetings are for couples that are basically healthy in the relationship. It's for people in a good relationship that want to make it better because there's always room for growth, or if the relationship feels kind of ho-hum and they want to liven it up and make it into a good relationship or a great relationship.
One of the things that you talk about that I find fascinating, actually, is your discussion in the book about communication skills and how to change your communication skills. I think that was a fascinating part of the book as well. And that kind of goes back to my statement about let's say the husband being the CEO of a corporation, and the way he communicates to those people has to be different than the way he communicates to his wife.
Yes,
yeah?
For sure. And I think this does happen naturally. We have friends. I don't think he'll overhear it, but his wife. He's a physician who calls the shots where he works a lot. He has assistants. He has nurses and he's in charge. But when he's home, is he the boss? Doesn't seem that way to me or most people that are watching the marriage. So I think a lot of people naturally do act different at work from the way they act at home. However, the issue is one person more verbal? Is one person more likely to call the shots just because he or she is naturally the one who's a better talker or more comfortable speaking, which is often the woman because our brains are wired more for relationships and communication. Men's brains are wired more for logic and problem solving. And so what I do recommend, which I think it sounds like you've read the book, which is great, that the person who's less verbal speaks first during each part of the marriage meeting. So, for example, I'm the more verbal one, so during appreciation, my husband always expresses his appreciation first.
Oh, okay.
And I will wait for him to bring up an issue or a chore, or I'll say, so what are you thinking about our date? How about this night or that night? But it's really about making room for both people. And often men particularly might be afraid of the marriage meeting because they're thinking, oh, no, I have to listen to more of this talking. But then when they actually have it, they're happy and relieved because they like the structure and it gives them a voice. It levels the playing field for them.
How do you keep from hurting somebody else's feelings?
Oh, that's such a sensitive question.
You do it by using positive, respectful communication skills. Even in appreciation, I gave a talk last night, and we did a little role-playing there, and this woman said to her role-played husband something like, oh, I appreciated that you didn't get on my case about my spending so much time working at home last night. And so I changed that for her to, I appreciated that you gave me the space, that you were patient about letting me spend the time and waiting for me, and that could be if whether that meant she didn't watch a TV show with him or she made dinner late or
right.
But it wasn't like I'd rather you stop yelling at me. Instead, you say it. I'd really appreciate it if you would speak to me in a gentler tone.
Do we become gentler or less gentle as we get older? Or is everybody different, maybe?
That's I don't know how to answer that one. I think that it depends probably how much somebody is committed to personal growth. If we're putting more time and energy into it, yes, I do think we become more sensitive and therefore gentler to people.
Yeah, I mean, we've all known couples. If we're old enough, we've known couples who've aged together, and I guess I'll talk about my aunt and uncle. I remember when they were younger, they were always yelling at each other. And then I visited them shortly before they passed away. They died like a year apart from one another up in South Carolina, and they were sweet, they were kind, they were gentle. It's like, whoa, look at all this change. And I'm wondering, I guess, if that happens to all of us.
I don't know. I have heard that happening with other couples. I don't know if it always happens, but that's a very interesting thing to think about, whether that is a general pattern. I have seen that, and I've heard about it. I've heard of situations where there was domestic abuse, and then the person had a drinking problem and started going to AA, and he changed.
Yeah.
Well, the marriage didn't become perfect, but the abuse stopped.
Oh, we have a veteran show on Thursdays, and there was a couple, an older couple, and he was saying he was telling us all that he had PTSD from the Korean War. That's how far back it goes.
Yeah.
And he finally got therapy like last year or something like that. And she swore up and down that she wished he had done that years and years ago because it changed everything. Yeah.
Definitely. Wonderful.
If there are children in the home, should there be 2 marriage meetings a week? One meeting just to focus on the marriage and that type of thing, and then the other meeting to focus on the children and whatever's going on there? Or can you combine the 2?
Well, I wouldn't combine the 2 because I think that we want to make sure that the parents are on the same page before they start talking to the children about some kind of a sensitive issue, such as whether or not they're going to intervene when the children are fighting, if there's more than one child, and how much you let the kids work it out themselves, how you work with the school, if there are some school learning issues or behavioral issues. But family meetings, I think, are great. And I think the main thing is to have the meeting for the 2 of you, and then if you want to have a weekly family meeting besides, that's great too, because the agenda works just fine. We have had family meetings also and used a similar agenda.
Okay. One of the other things that comes up a lot in marriages that you brought up in the book is the money issues, when there are money problems especially. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, often one person is more of a saver and another is more of a spender. Is that the kind of issue you mean?
Yeah, where one is disagreeing with the amount that the other is spending.
Yeah.
or on what is being spent on, maybe. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different ways that couples handle money, and one of the things to talk about might be how much discretionary money each person should have where they don't have to answer to, you know what I'm talking about? Say maybe there's... I don't want to say what a couple should do, okay, but I'll give you an example. In some situations, there's a joint checking account, and then each person has their own checking account.
Right.
Now, if they're not using checks and it's all credit cards or whatever system they're using, it might be like we don't have to report to each other if we're spending under a certain amount of money on something that we want. But if we're talking about a $4,000 car repair, for example,
and the car might be an old car. Let's discuss that and see if we agree whether it's worth repairing the car or it's time to get a new one.
What are your thoughts on sharing the information? Let's talk about the 30-minute meeting that we talked about earlier. Let's say I go back to work the next day and somebody says, so how was your, we had our once-a-week meeting. What do you mean your once-a-week meeting? What do you guys do? This is what we talk. Well, what did you talk about? Now, am I crossing the line if I'm sharing that with my coworker?
Well, again, you and your partner, your spouse, will probably naturally agree that there are some things that are private and some things that you're willing to share. And I think that it's really important to respect your partners, whatever your partner wants to keep private.
Okay. So that should be decided on in the beginning of the meeting if you talk about it at all to any outsider.
I think that's probably a good idea if it's something that you think might even be an issue for you. It's never felt like an issue for me, and I don't think it has been for my husband. I think that we naturally keep whatever feels like it should be private, we keep it private.
Do you ever stay away from some problems and challenges? Like, do you ever not say, you're putting on a few pounds? Do you stay away from that?
Yeah.
Or do you bring that up?
Okay. Now, you're putting on a few pounds. Is that a nice statement or a you statement?
No, that sounds like a bad statement to me.
Yeah.
Well, let's and not judge it. We won't say we're not going to call it bad. We're going to call it something that we could turn into a more helpful statement, which might be, "Dear, I'm really concerned about your health."
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So
and
I
then
guess that goes around it.
and then she says, in other words, I'm getting fat.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, you got it.
It becomes the honeymoon.
Yeah, let's move
So a
forward.
lot of it is the respectful communication. But I also want to point out, Larry, that in your early marriage meetings, while you get used to the structure, that's the time to be really, really careful about talking about the issues. You want to be very, very heavy on the appreciation. And then when you talk about issues in early meetings and everything in early meetings, keep in mind that this is an artificial structure. We don't usually talk to each other with an agenda. So it'll take several meetings to get comfortable with the structure. So your first goal for your first meeting is to make it so pleasant that you will and rewarding, because you're going to feel really good with the appreciation and planning your date and talking about a very minor issue. Don't talk about the big hot buttons in your first
There you go.
marriage
That
meeting.
sounds like a smart idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and the hot button, you need to stop?
In just a little bit, yeah, but I don't want to cut you off. No.
Okay, so the 4 hot buttons, I say save till you had at least 4 or 6 meetings and you both like the process and the results. Save things concerning with sex, money, in-laws, and parenting style differences for the later meetings. Only when you already are really comfortable and appreciative of the structure and of the results that you get from the meetings. An example of an easy issue is not your partner telling you, but I say to my partner, I'm trying to keep my weight down. I'd really appreciate it if you hide the potato chips. That would help me a lot.
Good advice. I have a copy of this wonderful book. It's called Marriage Meetings for Lasting Love, 30 Minutes a Week to the Relationship You've Always Wanted. If you would like the book, call me. I'll give the copy I have to you. The rest of us have to go buy it. Naomi, can you tell us how to do that?
Oh, you can probably get it at your local independent bookstore, and it's also on Amazon and the Barnes & Noble site, so you can get it virtually anywhere. If your bookstore doesn't have it, you can ask them to get it. It's on the sites of all the bookstores I've checked out all over the country.
Okay, and your website is?
www.marriagemeetings with an S on the end .com.
Okay.
And that also says where you can get it.
All right, marriagemeetings.com.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, marriage meetings with an S on the end .com.
All right, excellent. Let me give this one away, and then we'll say goodbye. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Hi, this is Kathy. I would love the book.
Okay, Kathy, it'll be waiting for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Naomi, thank you for being on the air. Good information. I think you're going to make a lot of soon-to-be married young couples, and maybe even already seasoned married couples, have a little happier life?
Well, thank you so much, and do keep in mind, everyone, please, the communication skills apply to all relationships. It could be roommates, it could be friends, any kind of committed type of relationship. And thank you so much for having me on the show, Larry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Naomi. We really enjoyed it. I kind of wish we had some more time. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right, we'll be right back.
This is James Snyder inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy, right here on WOCA 1370.
Hi, Danny Warfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.